And we're back. This is not any episode. This is episode 60 of the Quarantine Chronicles. We are 60 days in. This is not a special episode, but it is. It will turn into be because this will be one for the ages. We're talking about the Undertaker Last Ride documentary, episode 3, and a lot of it's focused on Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H, and the match they had in Saudi Arabia, and Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement. So I'm gonna let Mike take over.
Well, let me start off by saying that all day I've only been able to think about that Stadium Stampede match from AEW Double or Nothing last night. I haven't watched it back yet, but my God, all day I just been thinking about that and how great it was, how much fun I had
Mhm.
during watching that. Like, I mean, I mean, I can go on for hours about that match last night. So going into this, I waited, I waited a long time today to watch the Taker thing. I had no interest in opening up anything wrestling because I was so pumped from that match last night, and I didn't think anything in the world can top that. I don't think anything still can top that. That's going to be very hard to top. So now that the 2 minutes of AEW talk are done, episode 3. So I started to take notes when Kevin Owens put over the Undertaker, just because I wanted to say that Kevin Owens put over the Undertaker. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool to say because Kevin Owens is the man, and to that's just like a thing.
It was pretty cool when
So
they showed the garden shot, and it was like
yeah,
Kevin Owens taking the tombstone. I'm like, oh, I feel like Kevin Owens would rather be facing the Undertaker than being on the same team with the Undertaker
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like a special thing. Like, hey, I took a tombstone from the Undertaker, and then I got pinned by the Undertaker.
at
So
Madison Square Garden,
at
like the
Madison Square
LCW.
Garden. Yeah, that's like the main. I mean, that's like the main thing. You know what I mean? That's like the whatever. Like that's like I literally watched that little part of this documentary, and I was like, man, I really do have to like save up to go to that New Japan show at Madison Square Garden next year, because like just all the history and pro wrestling that happened at Madison Square Garden. And then after that, they quickly got into um, all the matches that didn't happen in America. We start off with the Super Showdown, talking about Triple H in Australia against The Undertaker.
Oh, they
And
talked
they,
about Rusev for them 1 second, and then they went to Triple H and Taker.
yeah, I skipped that for a reason. Anyway, they talked about how like they had the two matches against Shawn and then the two matches against Triple H, and how like the first match against Shawn was like that was the match, like that was the match, the greatest match he's ever had, whatever, against Shawn Michaels, and then the next year they followed up with the streak versus the career, and like I mean I feel like they really set in stone. Like I feel like this episode, like the setup to what they did, like what they talked about later on, it was really great because then they went from that to Triple H basically saying, well, you know, now it's my turn, and you had those two matches against Triple H at the back-to-back manias. So for 4 years, you had Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and honestly, those have to be four of my favorite Undertaker matches that I'd never
Those are
seen in person.
definitely four of the best wrestling matches in WWE, four of the best WrestleMania matches ever. Undertaker himself said those are the four of his greatest matches in his career.
Hmm.
Like, no disrespect to anyone else, but those are the matches. Like, if he wants to show Undertaker matches, you show those four matches. Like that, literally a four. Like in a time where WWE doesn't hold storylines, when you have those guys, they control their storylines pretty much, and it's a 4 year long storyline that they build.
Exactly. And
And
it
like,
all ended at 28.
at the end of an era, like that's like an iconic photo. Like that like when I look at that, I'm like it brought back all the memories of like those years of watching wrestling, and it was like that photo will live on for forever.
Like
Like that's an iconic photo.
the only thing wrong with that photo is Undertaker doesn't have the long hair. Like if he
Yeah.
had his classic, long hair, I mean that would be perfect. That's the only
Um,
thing.
I feel like my plaque value just went up by Undertaker saying those are 4 best matches of all time because I own those 4 plaques.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, doesn't Breach have like one of those signed by all the guys?
Yeah, he has 28 signed by Triple H and Shawn. So
Like
like that thing that they have in each of their places, Breach has that also.
like I think whenever I go to like Sacramento and buy the Punk 434 plaque from Breach, I think I'm gonna have him throw in one of his million 27 like WrestleMania 27 plaques
The 19
just
and 0 plaque
because
just to have.
yeah, just to have just for, for the sake of it. And the one thing I noticed in this episode was that Shawn Michaels is just casually wearing a camouflage Undisputed Era hat. Like I don't know, like I just didn't
I didn't know.
realize that.
I
So
didn't know that at all.
yeah, so that's a pretty cool nod to the Ring of Honor guys, Adam Cole and the rest of Undisputed Era. So I just wanted to
NXT guys, dude, Ring of Honor, like that exists anymore.
yeah, well, you gotta remember where you came from. Okay, well, I don't remember this Triple H versus Undertaker match in Australia at
Yeah,
all.
this was building. I think this happened in October. I think they were. Remember, Shawn came back, and then everyone was building up like, "Oh my God, Shawn and Taker might have a match." But then in Australia, they randomly were like, "Yeah, we're doing a show in Australia, and they're doing Taker versus Triple H for the last time." And everyone's like, "This is fucking random." Like there was no build or no anything. Like they announced the match, and then they did the build for the match.
Yeah. And so basically, I went back, I went to Wikipedia, and then I was like, okay, October 6th, 2018. I probably tweeted about this event because I sworn that I watched it or I remember like seeing something about it. So I went back and I searched my old tweets. And that's the one good thing about Twitter is you can search your old tweets. And I basically didn't see any tweets from me. The only one I saw was the day before that said, "Is anybody watching this tomorrow morning?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute." And then I saw that I tweeted a review. Me, No Tweet Ryan, and Luke, we did like a review of the show. And the first thing I say in this review is, "I didn't watch this show." And so the context clues from this is the show took place at like 6 o'clock in the morning Central Time or 5 o'clock in the morning Central Time. So I woke up and the show had already been over for like 2 hours. Basically, is what happened because it
What
was
was the
like
show
on.
called again? I don't remember.
It was called Super Showdown or something. Super Showdown. Yeah, Super Showdown. Um, because so that was like that was that I mean I think like I said I wanted to like wake up and check Twitter and see what was going on. I thought I watched it. I guess I didn't. Um, but like I mean I don't know. That's one of those matches that if you think of Triple H versus Undertaker matches, you're not going to think about that one.
I
You know what I
forgot
mean?
about them. And that match was like the way they showed it on like the documentary, like that match was terrible. It was slow and it was like whatever. And it was just like it was like they were trying doing their WrestleMania 27 match all over again. It was just like like a 2-star match instead of like a 4-star match, if that makes sense. Like it would just like that 27 match is slow, but it actually is like building towards something versus this match was just like it's kind of whatever because there's nothing on the line.
Yeah, and especially at the end of the match after it ended, when I mean the Brothers of Destruction pretty much turned on DX. Like they did like an angle, and that set up the next show, which was I think it was Crown Jewel. I think it was
It
the
was
next show.
Crown Jewel, Saudi Arabia, but it was like from Rahi something or I don't know how you call it because like that whole controversy was happening in the news and they changed it.
All right, well, we got to talk about this now because
By the way, before this happened, they're building this up like okay, so like when they talked about 25 to 28, this is like literally the greatest one of the greatest wrestling storylines ever. Like it's like the high of highs. And you even when you reminisce back on it, it's like I remember at the time it was great and you look back on it as great. So like sometimes when like something was okay back then and you look through it with like rose colored glasses and it was like it like it seems better than what it is. Like no,
mhm.
no, no, it's equal. Maybe as it age over time, you don't realize how great it was, even though it was great then and it's still great now. and it makes sense of why they thought this would be great, and then you go.
So first off, like, okay, so they started this off and like they had Triple H explaining like, like me and Taker do like the part-time thing. Sean hasn't wrestled in X amount of years, and Kane's the mayor, and I popped huge when he just like just rolled off the tongue, Kane's the mayor. I was like, that's like I mean, like that was just funny. That made it a little, made it a little bit better. But I mean, you can't talk about DX versus the Brothers of Destruction at this show without talking about the money, because they said, oh, Sean was comfortable with the guys that, you're doing it with or whatever. Like he's done this before with Kane, he's done this before with Taker. So he felt comfortable about it. His partner, Triple H, is right next to him. But that's 1000%. That 1000% cannot be the reason why Shawn did the stupid match. Okay, Shawn Michaels came out of retirement to do this show, not because it was against people that he was comfortable with. It was because of the money. You know that gif of Vincent Mann? It's all about the money. It's all about the
Yeah.
like that was why Shawn Michaels came out of retirement. It wasn't because he was doing it with people. Like I'm sure over the years Triple H pitched him a million and two ideas. Hey, let's go do this with this. Let's go do it with that. But like they obviously are not going to mention that. I'm mentioning it now because I want people to remember that this match, I boycotted the heck out of this match. I didn't even read Twitter. I didn't watch the show. I even think I like at one point was like I need to unsubscribe from the network. Like I was protesting the heck out of this match. It should have never happened. You ended Shawn Michaels' career at the perfect point on his terms at, I wouldn't say it's the peak of his career,
They
but he
literally said
was
the
he was still doing
documentary.
good.
It's like Taker was jealous, like, oh my God, Shawn Michaels got to leave on a high note, and what am I
Yeah.
gonna do? I'm trying to chase the dragon, trying to chase the high, but he
Like
can't. He can't get that high anymore.
I have to go back and read my old tweets during while this show was going on, because I know this one was in the middle of the afternoon and I don't remember what I was doing, but I definitely wasn't watching this match because I was just so upset that one, Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement, because that was the one thing where I looked at Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24 and I saw him as like, wow, like he's gonna retire, he's done, that's it. He had that great match with Shawn Michaels. I cried, you cried, Justin cried, we all cried. But like then he comes back a couple years later on TNA TV, and it's like, well, then what was the point of that whole retirement? And like, what was that all about? I was so frustrated with that because they made a big deal about it. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, oh man, like Ric Flair. So Shawn Michaels being my favorite, it's like, okay, he's gonna have that great match with Taker, and then the next year it's like I remember him at the Slammies making the challenge, in 2009 at the Slammies. He was in his DX gear and he challenged the Undertaker, and
Oh
that.
man, by the way, like bringing back DX in 2018, like it was getting played out in 2009. Like these guys are old. Then they brought it back like 9 years later. Like it was so old. They put them doing the click as in the DX hands and like bones. That's how old they were.
Yeah, because like in 2009, that was when I went to my first Raw, and the one thing that I'm glad that I got to do was I got to see DX in the world's biggest member era in 2009, just
It was
after
like
their.
the kid era. Like that was perfect for you because you're watching. But for me, like '06, like it was like good because it was like teenage and I was a teenager, and then
Oh yeah. Like I watched that was like I mean that was like because obviously Shawn Michaels was my favorite, so seeing him in DX in 2006, like I remember those moments. I remember watching him over and over again on like the DX DVD. I remember bringing like they had like a DX book. I don't know if you remember this. It's like a green cover. It's got like them on the front of the cover, and I think they're showing the pants. You know that like little cartoon version of the DX
yeah,
like
yeah, I have the
characters.
DVD. I have the
Yeah,
DVD that has the cartoon gimmicks, and you
yeah. So
pull
that
it the tab and it does it.
okay, well they had that, not the tab thing, but they had that, but on the book. And I remember I'd bring that book to seventh grade reading or English or whatever. Me and Tommy both had that book, and we would read that for free read. Like I made a I drew my own cover, like cover slip or whatever, just so I could put it over the book, just so like my teacher wouldn't yell at me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like I mean, and then obviously 2009, like going to the show and seeing DX and getting the glow sticks and everything, like that was a big deal to me. And then to have DX And more importantly, to have Shawn Michaels come out of retirement against the Brothers of Destruction at a show that has a lot of controversies. I don't even know how to say that word right now. Surrounded.
Controversial show. It was a
Yeah,
big time show where a lot of people was unsubscribed to the network.
and to have that and to ruin, I'm going to say ruin Shawn Michaels' return. He shouldn't have returned, but if you're going to do it, don't do it here. It was so stupid. And I remember, like I said, like I spent the day doing anything but watching this show. So the footage in this episode was the first time I saw any of this match. I don't even remember the clips or the gifs. I don't remember anything that happened from the show. So when they were running down the things that were happening, I wrote them down in all caps. Triple H, I wrote down Hunter Torpek. Okay, did not know
Oh
that.
man.
Like that was crazy.
Like I remember watching this chaos. Like it was so bad. Like first of all, during the show, they had the World Cup thing, and then Shane won, and then it was Brock versus Braun. Everyone thought Braun was going to win the title, and then Brock won. And I was like, it's like meme after meme. Like how worse can this get? And then this match happens, and it's just utter chaos.
So Hunter tore a pec. Shawn was bald. Kane's mask fell off during the match, and I'm watching this in like the 30-second like edited together version that they have here, and I'm like, I don't even want to be watching this. I mean, they look distraught. They look so sad. They look like they're pathetic old men. Like it just looks so sad, and to see these I'll even say these four like iconic characters of my childhood like just be thrown together in a terrible situation like this. I mean, this has to be like the worst like decision ever.
This is literally -5 stars.
Dude, honestly, that's I mean, like that's embarrassing to the it's just like saying that was -5 stars is embarrassing to -5 stars. Like that is on another level. Like I don't even know what to say. Like I'm just like I'm
I remember
just
reading Observer and like waiting for -5 stars, and they just put, I think it was like a dud or minus. I don't know what it was. It was so bad, it was bad. But I remember Shawn Michaels in an interview saying if he ever came back, he would do a tag match so his kids could see. So I get that part for the tag match, but then also why didn't you do it at a WrestleMania? Why did you just do it at this show? Because we know it's for the money.
like if you like okay, if you want, let's just like let's let's Chris Benoit this match, like in Sean's career. You know what I mean? Let's like erase it from the history books. Let's forget it ever happened. Or if you're gonna have Shawn Michaels wrestle and he wants to put on a great match, maybe it's an edited match. I don't know. Have it against someone good. You know what I mean? Like a Kevin Owens or I don't know, like an AJ Styles. Like you know, redeem yourself now that you've got this stupid thing. You know what I mean? Or we can just forget it never happened. I will by all
I
means like
literally forget it happened because the other like I think last month or whenever when the 10 years of Shawn Michaels retirement, I was like, oh, well, it happened 10 years ago, and then someone in the comments was like, well, remember when he came back? And I'm like, oh right, he did that.
well, that's the thing. I remember that WrestleMania 26 match, and then I'm like, but then they screwed it up a couple, years later. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about the Undertaker episode? I mean, I'm heated. Like,
The 5 star meme was I got 3 words for you, and then a Taker says, go fuck yourself. That was a big pop.
yeah,
And then
that
he
was
does a
good.
crotch chop. Like that's a gift for the end of time now
That
in the
was
rest
good.
of the world.
Yeah,
Um, like this is the wrestler, by the way. Like I know Undertaker's making money and getting paid and stuff, but
yeah,
like not you subtract the money, like a personal goal of his of trying to retire on a high note. He is like this is the real life movie of the wrestler we're watching.
yeah,
It's pretty crazy because we know what happened in his last match and how great that cinematic performance was. But does he watch that and be like, "But I don't want to end my career on a segment. I want to end my career in the ring," you know?
mm-hmm.
Because if Undertaker says when he rode that bike off and he did the fist and the pyro went off and the big T came up and like he just drove off and Biker Taker came back and he beat up AJ Styles and he left forever, everyone would be like, "Oh, all right, that was the end. That was good." And he main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why it's
But
like,
I don't think this is how the story ends. I think he ends it in the ring and he wrestles AJ Styles on the next pay-per-view or with fans in the building.
Oh, jeez.
That's what I think.
I guess. But, I mean, and
But
then,
literally,
so, go
Undertaker
ahead.
could leave the business right now and saying, "Oh, I changed wrestling because of that boneyard match."
I mean, yeah, if I'm him, I end after that. Because it was a match, but
Because,
it wasn't a match. You know what I
but
mean?
like that's a catalyst to like what's happening right now. If it wasn't, I know the Firefly Funhouse is like that, but like if it wasn't for that boneyard match,
Yeah.
like that's a start. I
No,
know
I know
everyone
what
say
you mean.
competition, but I say the boneyard match. That changed the game.
Yeah, if he comes out tomorrow and says I'm retiring, like by all means, like if that's why they released this right now because it's gonna end with that boneyard
His
match.
last ride is him riding off on the bike.
Yeah, I'm in. Give it to me. Give me a Taker figure with him on the bike from the boneyard match. But and then so this episode ends, and I wrote down nothing like Goldberg getting paid millions of dollars to drop Taker on his head to get you excited for the next episode.
Oh man, this you thought the last match is bad. This is gonna get even worse.
Oh
You
yeah,
thought the bottom was there, and then the bottom like there's still another drop.
it's the bottomless fries at Red Robin. Like it just keeps coming.
There we
Oh,
go.
jeez. I need to like legit. I mean,
This
I just
this
I don't know.
this might be the best episode, by the way. It took us on the highest highs, and it went for the lowest lows.
Dude, I need to go watch Taker and Sean from 25 and then 26 and then watch those Triple H matches and then I'm gonna just watch the what's it called Stadium Stampede match and then just like go to sleep because I mean that's all I could think about all day and that's about it.
And on that note, we'll talk to you again after a while.